Jai Hind dear students. Today we all are going to start with the fourth chapter of NCERT syllabus, that is linear equations in two variables. Before starting with the chapter, let us try to understand the meaning of the chapter. The first word say linear. We all know that the word linear came from the word line. That means in this chapter we are going to deal with lines. The second part is an equation. We know that something which is written with the help of variable constants and contains an equal to sign is basically an equation. For example, like 2x plus 5 is equals to 7x minus 3 can be called as an equation. And the next term comes variables. So variables is something which is not a constant. For example, we take the variables as x, y, a, b, c, etc. So these are the variables which we use to represent something whose value is not known. So it is used to represent unknown things. In mathematics, basically the variable are used for representing something unknown or to write something in generalized way. Something in generalized way will be represented by variables. So that's how the whole name of the chapter came, linear equations in two variables. If you can recall from your class 8 syllabus, we have studied about linear equation in one variable. There we have solved so many questions based upon linear equation in one variables. In the initial stage we have simply solved the equations, and then later on we have framed the equations from the various word problems given and then solved them. So over here also we are going to start with linear equations in two variables. The question came that why this chapter? Why are we studying this chapter? What is the basic idea behind using this chapter or teaching this chapter? So in class 8 when we were talking about linear equation in one variable, there were only one unknown thing or the quantity which we had to determine. For example, if I have a question 2x plus 3 is equals to 5. It contains only one variable. So this is called a linear equation in one variable which can be simplified to get the value of x. Now let us consider one example. I'm taking this example from your NCERT book only. It's given that in a one-day international cricket match between India and Sri Lanka, two Indian batsmen together scored 176 runs. The question says express this information in the form of an equation. The question says from India there were two batsmen who together scored 176 runs. Now over here in this example you may find that there are two unknown quantities. What are they? They are the runs scored by first batsman as well as the second one is the run scored by second batsman. So we have two unknown things to be determined in this example. So to represent the two unknown quantities, we'll consider one as x, another as y. Now with the help of these two, if I have considered that the run scored by player 1 or the batsman one is x and the other one as y, we can represent that together. That means x plus y, they scored 176 runs. So now this is once again an equation which consists of two unknown things or unknown quantities which are expressed in terms of x and y. So this kind of equation is known as linear equation in two variables, where we use two unknown quantities to represent the equation. So this is how we start. Now you may have the two variables other than x and y also, like it can be 2s plus 3t is equals to 6, 1.5a minus 2.3 b minus 36 equals to 0, and so on. So it can be with any two variables. So that's how the linear equation in two variables came into existence, and that is the need that when we have to represent two unknown quantities or to determine two unknown quantities, we require a linear equation in two variables. So now let us proceed with the next part of this. Whenever we have something, we always try to write it in standard form. So standard form of a linear equation in two variable is ax plus by plus c is equals to 0, where a, b, c, they all are real numbers. This is a symbol in mathematics which means belongs to, and R stands for real number. So A, B and C can be all real number, except that A and B should not be equals to 0, because if it is 0, it makes the whole term, suppose if A has come 0, this whole term becomes 0. It contains then only one variable, so it becomes a linear equation in one variable. So that is why a clause has been mentioned that A and B has to be non-zero digits. So that's how we can write a linear equation in two variable in standard form. Now if you see your NCERT book, there are certain questions given to express the linear equation in standard form, and from there try to write down the values of A, B and C. So let us see how can we do it. Suppose if you have an equation given in this form, 2x plus 3y is equals to 4.37. Now, is this in the standard form? So the answer is no, because the standard form is ax plus by plus c is equals to 0. So on the right hand side, we should have only 0. So what we do, we'll shift this towards this side. So we'll be getting 2x plus 3y. This is plus 4.37, move to that side, becomes minus 4.37 is equals to 0. Now this can also be written as 2x plus 3y plus minus times 4.37 is equals to 0. Now if you compare this with the standard equation, that is ax plus by plus c equals to 0, by comparison you will be getting a is equals to 2, b is equals to 3 and c is equals to minus 4.37. This is how, after writing the equation in the standard form, you can find out the values of A, B and C. See, if you have left your answer in this form also, this is correct. You need not to go through this step. This is just for your understanding. Am I clear? I hope. Now let's move on to see a few more examples. Like if something is written in this form, 4 is equals to 5x minus 3y. So what can we do? We can shift all of the terms containing constant towards this side, then here you'll be getting 0. It becomes 5x minus 3y minus 4. Or this can also be written as 5x minus 3y minus 4 is equals to 0. From here, if you have to find out the values of a, b and c, so a is 5, b is minus 3 and c is minus 4. One more example I'll take and then we'll move on to the next part. If somewhere you have found a question is written like this, x minus y plus 1 is equals to 0, and the question says write down the values of a, b and c. Over here nothing is written, so when nothing is written we consider 1 as the coefficient. So over here a is 1. Same way, at the place of y we can consider it is 1 into y, and a negative sign is here, so it can be written as b as minus 1 and c is plus 1. So this is how you can find it out. Another example, sometimes it may be like in this form only, 2x is equals to y, which can be expressed in the form of 2x minus y is equals to 0. Now from here if you compare, you'll get a as 2, b as minus 1, and since there is no constant term, it will be 0. That's how we can write an equation in standard form and can find out the values of a, b and c. Now you may find that there are certain questions given which says to write an equation which is not in the form of the equation of two variable, but we need to write or express it in the form of linear equation in two variable. For example, if it is written ax plus b equals to 0, where a and b are constants. So we'll have only one variable over here. Now if we have only one variable, that means what? If you can recall from the previous page, I said it is because the coefficient of y is 0. So you can express it as ax plus 0 into y plus b is equals to 0. So now this can be expressed in the form of a linear equation in two variable. In general, if I have x minus 5 is equals to 0, then it can be written as 1 into x plus 0 into y minus 5 is equals to 0. If you have y is equals to 2, it can be written as y minus 2 is equals to 0, or further it can be expressed as 0 into x plus 1 into y minus 2 is equals to 0. This is how we can express a linear equation with one variable in the form of linear equation in two variable. So if you all have understood this by using the today's content, you all will be able to solve the exercise 4.1 of your NCERT book. I'll be attaching the exercise 4.1 in the form of a page with you all. So there you can solve the questions with the help of today's teaching. In the next class, we will be coming with the second part of this chapter. Till then, happy learning. Jai Hind.